Hello and welcome to Spur Economics. Today, we'll be discussing the calculation, advantages and the limitations of the Gender Inequality Index or GII. Please like, share and subscribe if you like our content. Visit the Spur Economics website for more knowledge on economics, link is in the description. The development of the GII began before its official inclusion in the 2010 Human Development Report. It is part of the broader framework of the Human Development Index and provides insights into gender-based inequalities. The Gender Inequality Index reflects how women face disadvantages and discrimination compared to men. The Gender Development Index, introduced in 1995, focused on gender gaps in development. To learn more about GDI, see the links in the description. The motivation for introducing the GII stemmed from recognizing that existing gender-related indices, such as the Gender Development Index, had limitations in capturing the complexity of gender inequalities. The GII aimed to address these limitations and provide a more comprehensive assessment. The GII is calculated based on 3 dimensions shown here. Reproductive health dimension includes 2 indicators, maternal mortality and adolescent birth rates. It assesses women's reproductive health and their access to maternal care. The empowerment dimension considers 2 indicators, the percentage of parliamentary seats held by each gender and the percentage of women aged 25 and older with at least some secondary education. This dimension provides insights into women's political representation and educational attainment. Labor market participation measures the percentage of women and men aged 15 and older engaged in paid employment. It reflects gender disparities in economic opportunities and employment, indicating women's participation in the labor market. The GII ranges from 0 to 1, with higher values indicating greater gender inequality. A GII value of 0 represents perfect gender equality, while a value of 1 indicates maximum inequality. Since its introduction in 2010, the calculation of GII has seen some changes and updates. Here, we will illustrate the calculation of the GII as seen in the Human Development Report of 2021-22. To illustrate the calculation of GII, let us consider a hypothetical example with the values of indicators as shown here. In the health dimension, we only have values for females because the indicators include maternal mortality and adolescent birth rate, which do not apply to males. In this example, maternal mortality is 620 deaths per 100,000 live births and adolescent birth rate is 110 per 1,000 women aged 15 to 19. In the empowerment dimension, 21% seats are held by women and 79% seats by men in the parliament. 6% females and 19% males have at least some secondary education. The labor force participation is 13% for females and 68% for males. It is important to note that these indicators have some maximum and minimum values. For maternal mortality rate, the minimum value is fixed at 10 and the maximum value is 1,000 deaths per 100,000 live births. The reason for this is that countries with maternal mortality even above 1,000 do not differ in their inability to create proper health conditions. Similarly, countries with maternal mortality below 10 are not different in providing good health conditions as compared to those with a value of 10. The other indicators involving percentage are fixed to have a minimum value of 0.1%. This is because we have to calculate the geometric means in the GII, which cannot be calculated with 0 values. First, we have to estimate a reference standard by combining the values for males and females in each dimension. Then, we combine the 3 dimensions to create an overall reference standard. This reference standard is used to calculate the inequality and GII later. We can calculate the reference standard for health dimension using the formula shown here. As we can see, the formula includes both the indicators of maternal mortality and adolescent birth rate along with their minimum values. By plugging in the values of our example, we estimate the reference standard for health equal to 0.506. The reference standard for empowerment dimension involves the share of seats in parliament and the population with secondary education as shown in the formula here. The percentage values have been converted to a range between 0 and 1. For example, the women's 21% share of seats in the parliament are represented as 0.21 in the formula. For our example, the reference standard for empowerment is equal to 0.2498. The reference standard for labor market is simple to estimate and is shown in the formula here. In our example, it is equal to 0.405. These reference standards for individual dimensions are further used to estimate the overall reference standard using the geometric mean as shown here. The overall reference standard is 0.3713 in our example, and it will be used to calculate the GII later. To calculate the GII, we first need to estimate the female and male indices separately. The female index is calculated by combining the values of all the indicators for females and taking the geometric mean. The formula for the female index is shown here, and it is estimated as 0.0559 in our example. Similarly, we combine all the values of indicators for males in the male index and estimate the geometric mean. The calculation is shown in the formula here and is estimated to be equal to 0.6410 in our example. Now, we calculate the harmonic mean of the male and female indices as shown here. This harmonic mean is equal to 0.1028 in our example. Finally, we have the required harmonic mean and the overall reference standard to calculate the GII. To obtain the GII, we divide the harmonic mean by the reference standard and subtract the resultant value from 1 as shown here. Hence, the Gender Inequality Index or GII is equal to 0.723 in our hypothetical example. We know that the GII values closer to 1 indicate higher gender inequality and values closer to 0 indicate lower inequality. Hence, the GII value of 0.723 indicates high levels of gender inequality in our example country. The GII considers a broader set of indicators as compared to the GDI. It includes 3 key dimensions: reproductive health, empowerment, and labor market participation. This broader scope allows the GII to capture a wider range of gender inequalities beyond those measured by the GDI. The GII includes reproductive health indicators such as maternal mortality and adolescent birth rates. These indicators provide insights into women's health and well-being related to reproductive rights and maternal care, which are not covered by the GDI. The GII explicitly includes an empowerment dimension, which considers the percentage of parliamentary seats held by each gender and the percentage of women with at least some secondary education. This dimension provides a measure of women's participation in political and economic decision-making. The GII includes labor market participation, measuring the percentage of women and men aged 15 and older who are engaged in paid employment. This dimension reflects gender disparities in economic opportunities and employment. Despite its comprehensive nature, the GII focuses on 3 dimensions only. It may not capture all aspects of gender inequality, such as legal rights, access to resources, and cultural factors, which are essential for a complete understanding. GII calculations depend on the availability and quality of data for the chosen indicators. In some cases, data may be incomplete or less reliable, particularly in developing countries. This can introduce biases and affect the accuracy of the index. The process of normalizing indicators involves setting maximum values, and this may not always accurately reflect the ideal or achievable conditions. The choice of maximum values can impact the relative weights assigned to different indicators. The GII assumes equal weighting of its 3 dimensions. However, the relative importance of these dimensions may vary across societies and contexts. For example, in some regions, cultural and social factors may play a more significant role than reproductive health in determining gender inequality. The GII does not explicitly consider intersectionality, which refers to the intersecting effects of gender with other social categories such as race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status. Failing to account for these intersections may result in an oversimplified understanding of gender inequality. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth discussions on economics topics. Leave your questions and comments below. See you next time.